I woke up and the house was empty. There was no one. No sound of dishes. No smell of coffee. Not even the voices of my son and his girlfriend arguing in the kitchen about what to have for breakfast. Nothing. I walked barefoot down the hallway. The soles of my feet felt the cold of the wood floor. The one I had chosen myself 20 years ago, when I built this house with the sweat of my work as an accountant. I opened the door to the living room. The sofa was gone. And so was the coffee table I inherited from my mother. And the floor lamp I bought in Savannah the day I got my first promotion. I walked into the dining room empty. The chairs. The oak table. The antique china cabinet where I kept the crystal glasses we only used at Thanksgiving. Everything had vanished. My heart started pounding so hard, I felt the pulse in my temples. I ran to my bedroom. My bed was still there and my clothes. But when I opened the living room closet, where I kept some important documents, things were missing. I checked every corner of the house like a lunatic. The television. The framed pictures. Even the garden pots on the patio. Where was everything? I grabbed my phone with trembling hands. I dialed my son Marcus once. Twice. 3 times. And on the 4th ring, he answered. "Mom." His voice sounded calm, almost cheerful. "Marcus, where are you? What happened to the furniture? The house is..." "Oh. Yeah. Mom. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner." He paused. "We sold a few things. Well, several things." I felt the floor moving beneath my feet. "What do you mean you sold my things? My furniture?" "Don't get upset, Ma. It's just that." I heard his girlfriend, Vanessa's voice, laughing in the background. "It's just that Vanessa and I urgently needed the cash. We went to Paris. She always dreamed of going. You know. And well, you always say we should support each other as a couple. Right?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Marcus, that's my house. Those were my furnishings. Things I bought with my work. With my..." "Oh. Mom. Don't overreact. They're just material things." Then his tone became almost childlike. "Besides, she deserves Paris. Mom, Vanessa has done so much for me. You always tell us that family comes first." I closed my eyes. The line cut off. He had hung up. I was left standing in the middle of that empty living room, holding the phone as if it were the only real thing I had left. In that moment, something inside me broke. But I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't call the police. I smiled. Because in that empty silence, in that echo coming back from the walls with nothing to decorate them, I made a decision. A decision that would change everything. My name is Dorothy Hayes. I'm 58 years old. I worked 30 years as an accountant to give my son a decent life. I was widowed 10 years ago. And this house, every nail, every tile, every window, I built it up all by myself. and what my son and that woman had just done would not go unanswered. But it wouldn't be revenge. It would be justice. And when they returned from Paris 2 weeks later, with their suitcases full of photos and memories of the Eiffel Tower, I would have a gift prepared for them. A gift Vanessa would never forget. One that would make her pass out. Have you ever trusted someone you loved too much only for them to betray that trust? Tell me your story in the comments. I want to read them. Sometimes the deepest wounds come from those we love the most. But let me tell you how all this began. 2 years ago, my house wasn't empty. It was full of life. I got up every day at 6, 0 inches the morning. I made French roast coffee, the kind my mother taught me to make when I was a kid. The aroma rose throughout the house like a warm hug. Then I made pancakes and prepared bacon and eggs with a little bit of cottage cheese. My house smelled like home. I lived alone since I was widowed. But I didn't feel lonely. I had my job at the accounting firm, my friends from the Bible study group on Thursdays, my plants on the patio that I watered every afternoon while listening to the church bells of the neighborhood. It was a quiet, decent life. Mine. One Saturday in March, Marcus arrived with a big suitcase and some news. "Mom, can we stay here for a while?" He was 32, but in that moment he looked like a scared child. "Stay who?" "Vanessa and I. We lost our apartment. The landlord sold it, and they only gave us a month to move out. We're looking for something. But everything is crazy expensive." "Mom, it would only be a few months." How could I say no to him? He was my only son. The son I had worked double shifts for when his father died. The son I managed to send to college by selling cookies on the weekends. "Of course. My darling, this is your home." The next day, Vanessa arrived. Tall, pretty, with that straight brown hair she always wore perfectly. She wore designer clothes and spoke with an accent that tried to sound more educated than it was. "Thanks. Dot," she said to me. And she hugged me with a perfume so strong it stung my nose. "You're an angel. I don't know what we'd do without you." No one had called me Dot in years. But I smiled because my son looked at her as if she were the only important thing in the world. In the beginning, everything was manageable. I kept getting up early. I made breakfast for all 3 of us. Vanessa came down at 10, 0 inches the morning, always in silk pajamas, and said, "Oh, Dot, you shouldn't have bothered." But she sat down and ate 3 pancakes with eggs. Marcus went out looking for work. He came back in the evening tired, frustrated. "The economy is tough," he would say. "No one's hiring." I would make him his chamomile tea and tell him, "Be patient. Son, something will come up." Vanessa wasn't looking for work. She stayed home watching series on my television, using my living room, my dishes, my internet. But I didn't say anything because family comes first. That's what I was taught. And if my son loved her, I had to accept her. 2. The months passed. 1, 2, 6. They were still there. I stopped using the living room because it was always occupied. Vanessa watched television until 3:00 the morning. When I left for work at 7, she was still sleeping with the TV on. My electric bill doubled, but I didn't say anything. One day, I came home from work and found 3 of Vanessa's friends in my dining room, drinking white wine from the crystal glasses that belonged to my mother. Dot. Vanessa yelled. Look. Let me introduce you to the girls. We're having a business meeting. We're starting an organic makeup venture. I smiled. I said hello. I went to my room. I heard their laughter until 11 at night. Marcus was finally working. He had gotten a job at an electronics store. It wasn't what he had studied for, but it was something. He came home tired. And Vanessa would say, "My love, I can't cook today. I have a headache. Should we ask your mom?" And Marcus would look at me with those boyish eyes that I couldn't deny anything to. So, I cooked. After working 9 hours, I cooked for the 3 of us. And they ate in the living room watching Netflix while I washed the dishes. But even so, when Marcus hugged me and said, "Thanks, Mom. You're the best," I felt that everything was worth it because he was happy. And if he was happy, I could put up with anything. Or so I thought. Until one afternoon I came home early from work. I entered the house quietly because I had a headache and I heard voices in my room. In my room, I crept upstairs. The door was ajar. And what I saw changed everything. Vanessa was going through my jewelry box. Not the one I left on the dresser. That was the one everyone saw where I kept costume earrings and worthless bracelets. No. She was going through the wooden jewelry box my husband Arthur gave me for our 10th anniversary. The one I kept in the back of the closet, wrapped in a blue silk shawl. The one no one was supposed to touch. Marcus was standing beside her with his hands in his pockets. "See," Vanessa was saying. "Your mom has stuff she doesn't even wear. Look at this ring. When was the last time she put it on?" She held in her hand the engagement ring that Arthur gave me 35 years ago. A small 10. Simple solitaire. But one he bought by selling his bicycle. That ring was the only thing I had left of him. I don't know. Marcus sounded uncomfortable. "I don't think she'll be okay with it." "Oh, my love, don't be silly at her." Vanessa laughed. "If we sell it, we could put a down payment on an apartment. Don't you want us to have our own place, or would you prefer to keep living with your mother forever?" My heart was beating so hard I thought they would hear me. Marcus sighed. It's my dad's ring." "Exactly. Your dad's. He's gone. Marcus. She doesn't even wear it. It's just gathering dust in there." Vanessa closed the jewelry box with a sharp sound. "Besides, your mum owes us. Look at us. 30 years old and we still have nothing. And she has this huge house all to herself. I owed them. I was paralyzed in the hallway. Well," Marcus's voice sounded weak. "Let me think about it." "There's nothing to think about." Vanessa walked toward the door. And I barely had time to hide in the bathroom. "Tomorrow. When your mom goes to work, we'll take what we need. She won't even notice. What if she does notice? So what? She's all alone. Who else does she have? I heard their footsteps go down the stairs. I came out of the bathroom shaking. I walked into my room. The jewelry box was there, open on the bed. My things were scattered. My mother's gold chain, the pearl earrings I wore on my wedding day, the bracelet Marcus gave me when he turned 15 with his first summer job paycheck. Every object was a memory, and she wanted to sell them. I closed the jewelry box with trembling hands. I put it back in the closet, but I knew it wasn't safe anymore. Nothing was safe. That night, I didn't have dinner with them. I told them I had a headache. I locked myself in my room and cried for the first time in months. I cried for my husband, who was no longer here to defend me. I cried for my son, who listened to that woman without saying anything. I cried for myself for being so foolish, so naive, for having opened my house. The next morning, I went to work as always. But before I left, I took my jewelry box with me. I locked it in my desk drawer at the office. When I came back that afternoon, Marcus was watching television. "Hey, Mom," he said without looking up. "Hello, son." I went up to my room. I opened the closet. The blue shawl was on the floor. They had looked for the jewelry box. They didn't find it. But they had looked. They knew what I had done. I went down to the kitchen. Vanessa was there, eating grapes from my fruit bowl. "Hi, Dot," she said with a smile. "How was your day?" "Fine, thank you." "Did you lose something?" she asked. And her eyes shone with something that wasn't kindness. It was defiance. "No." "Why?" "No reason." She put another grape in her mouth. "Just wondering." That night, while I was making dinner, I heard Vanessa talking on the phone in the living room. "Yeah, Mom, I know. But the old lady is really stubborn. She doesn't want to sell anything." She laughed. "Don't worry. Marcus is a fool. He does what I tell him. Soon, this house is going to be ours." I froze with the knife in my hand. The tomato I was slicing rolled off the table. Vanessa continued talking. "Besides, if she won't cooperate, well, there are other ways. Marcus is her only heir, right? It's just a matter of time." In that moment, I knew the truth. Vanessa wasn't there because she loved my son. Vanessa was there because she wanted my house, and she was willing to do whatever it took to get it, even get rid of me. As I tell all this, I wonder where you are listening to me now. In your kitchen, in your room, driving on your way to work. Write the name of your city in the comments. I want to know I'm not alone in this. I didn't sleep that night. I lay awake staring at the ceiling, repeating Vanessa's words in my mind. It's just a matter of time. But when the sun rose, when I heard Marcus get up to go to work, when I saw him come down the stairs in his store uniform. I convinced myself that I had misheard. Maybe she said something else. Maybe she was joking with her mom. Maybe I'm the one who's overreacting. That's how denial works. It tells you that the poison you just saw was just water. I got up. I made coffee. I made breakfast. Marcus ate quickly, as always. He gave me a kiss on the forehead. Thanks, Mom. You're the best. And I smiled, as if nothing had happened. Vanessa came down at 11. She was wearing my robe, the pink silk one Arthur gave me for our last anniversary. Morning. Dot. She yawned. Is there any coffee left? Yes. On the stove. Could you pour me some? I'm still half asleep. I got up and served her coffee. She sat at the table checking her phone without even looking at me. Oh. By the way, she said without looking up. Some friends are coming over this afternoon. We're having a photo shoot for the venture. Could you not be here? We need the whole living room. And you know, it's kind of awkward with someone else around. She was asking me to leave my own house. I have some things to do here. Oh. Dot. She finally looked at me. Don't be difficult. It's only for 2 hours. Why don't you go to the market or downtown? You haven't been out in a while. She was right. I hadn't been out in a while because every time I came home, there was something to clean, clothes to wash, food to prepare. All right, I said. Thank you. I knew you'd understand. That afternoon, I left my house. I walked around the market without buying anything. I sat on a park bench and watched the pigeons peck at crumbs. I felt like them, picking up the scraps they left me. I returned at 7 inches the evening. Vanessa's friends were gone, but the house was a wreck. Dirty glasses in the living room, plates with leftover food in the dining room, candy wrappers on the floor. Vanessa was in their room with the door closed, talking on the phone. I cleaned everything without saying a word because that's what I did. Clean. Cook. Stay silent. The following days were the same. Vanessa asked for more and more. Dot. Can you wash this blouse? It's delicate. You can't put it in the washing machine. Dot. Can you lend me $500? I forgot my wallet. I'll pay you back on Friday. She never paid me back. Dot. Could you sleep on the couch tonight? My cousin is visiting from Chicago and has nowhere to stay. She needs your bed. And I said yes. I always said yes because I was afraid. Afraid that if I said no, Marcus would get angry. Afraid that they would leave and leave me alone. Afraid to admit that my only son had chosen her over me. Afraid of the truth. One afternoon, my friend Clara came to visit me. We hadn't seen each other in months. We sat in the kitchen because the living room was occupied by Vanessa and her friends. Dorothy. Clara looked at me with concern. Are you okay? You look tired. I'm fine. Are they still living here? Yes. But they're looking for an apartment. That's a lie. They are not looking for anything. I don't know how you put up with them. Clara lowered her voice. I'd put up with my daughter-in-law for 2 days and already want to kick her out. We laughed, but my laugh sounded fake even to me. Clara left an hour later. Before leaving, she hugged me and whispered in my ear, "If you need me, call me anytime." I didn't call her because calling her would be admitting that something was wrong, and I wasn't ready yet. Weeks passed. One Saturday, Marcus asked me to go to the mall with them. Vanessa wants to buy some shoes. Will you come with us? Ma, it had been a while since the 3 of us went out. I said yes. At the shoe store, Vanessa tried on 7 expensive designer pairs. Which one do you like best? Dot? She asked me. The black one is nice. Yes. But the red one is more. She looked at herself in the mirror. I'll take both. Marcus pulled out his credit card. Honey, he said softly. That's $400. I don't have that much. Vanessa stared at him. Marcus. It's my birthday in 2 weeks. Are you going to deny me this? No. But. Then Marcus looked at the floor. Then he looked at me and I knew what was coming. Mom, could you? I took out my card. I paid for the shoes. Vanessa hugged me. Thanks. Dot. You're a sweetheart. I promise we'll pay you back. They never paid me back. On the way home, Vanessa was happy with her shopping bags, humming a song. Marcus drove in silence. I was in the back seat. Invisible. That night, lying in my bed, I looked at myself in the dresser mirror. Who was that woman, with dark circles under her eyes, dull hair, and an empty look? Where was Dorothy Hayes? The woman who built a business, who raised a son alone, who faced her husband's death with dignity. Where was she? And then, in the silence of the night, I heard voices in the kitchen. Marcus and Vanessa. I got up barefoot, slowly walking down the stairs. I don't like asking her for money all the time. That was Marcus's voice. Well, then get a better job. Vanessa answered with annoyance. I'm not going to marry someone who earns a pittance. Marry? Vanessa? We talked about this. I can't get married now. I don't even have money for the ring. Exactly. That's why we need to sell things. Your mom has this huge house. Why don't we convince her to sell it and give us half anyway? She's old. What does she need so much space for? I was petrified on the staircase. I can't ask her that. Of course you can. My love. Think about our future. The children we're going to have. Do you want to raise them here with your mom breathing down our necks? She's lived her life. Now it's our turn. There was a silence. Long. Eternal. You're right, Marcus finally said. And in that moment, something inside me woke up. It wasn't pain. It wasn't sadness. It was clarity. I didn't go up to my room. I stayed there on the stairs in the darkness. listening as my son and that woman planned my life as if I no longer existed, as if I were a bother, an obstacle between them and their happiness. Finally, I heard their footsteps. They went to their room. The door closed. Only then did I go upstairs. I went into my room and sat on the bed. I didn't turn on the light. I stayed there in the gloom with my hands in my lap. And for the first time in months, I didn't cry because there were no more tears. There was only a cold, clear question, like glass. What else are they hiding from me? If this story has touched you, please subscribe and share the video to help me grow better. Your support means everything. The next morning, I got up before dawn. I didn't make coffee. I didn't make breakfast. I dressed in silence and left the house at 5:30 inches the morning. I took the bus and arrived at the office while it was still closed. I sat on a bench outside and waited. At 7, Mr. Resnaction, Mr. Wallace, the head accountant, arrived. Dorothy, what are you doing here so early? I needed to get out of the house, I simply said. He didn't ask anything else. He opened the office and we went in. I worked that day like never before. I checked bank statements. I organized invoices. I did everything mechanically without thinking, because if I thought, I would fall apart. I returned home at 8:00 inches the evening, later than usual. When I opened the door, the living room was dark, silent. I went up the stairs. The door to Marcus's room was ajar. I heard voices. She's getting weird. That was Vanessa. Weird. How? She didn't even make us breakfast today. And look at her now. Where was she? Working. I guess. Exactly. Working. Vanessa paused. Did you know your mom has 2 savings accounts, one at Chase Bank and one at Bank of America? My blood ran cold. How did she know that? How do you know that? Marcus asked. I found the bank statements when I was cleaning her room. They're in her nightstand drawer. Marcus, your mom has almost $800,000 saved. $830,000 to be exact. It was my retirement. The money I had saved for 30 years. Dollar by dollar. Sacrifice by sacrifice. It was everything I had left for my old age. We can't touch that, Marcus said. But his voice sounded weak. I didn't say we should touch it. I said we know it exists. Vanessa lowered her voice. Look, I'm not saying we should steal anything from your mom, but when she, is no longer around. Vanessa, it's the truth. Marcus, we can't live forever waiting. Your mom is already 58. She has high blood pressure. She smokes secretly. Have you seen how she gets out of breath when she goes up the stairs? I didn't smoke. I had never smoked in my life. Besides, Vanessa continued, legally, you're her only heir. This house, her savings, everything will be yours. Ours. It's just a matter of, well, of being patient. There was a silence. "What if she doesn't want to leave me anything?" Marcus asked. "What if she makes a will and leaves everything to a charity or something?" That had never occurred to me. "But now that's why we have to make sure that doesn't happen," Vanessa said. "You have to be closer to her. Make her feel important. Make her feel like you need her. Old people are like that. They love feeling useful. Old people. That's what I was to her. An old person. Not Dorothy. Not the woman who had worked all her life. Not the mother who gave everything for her son. An old person. An obstacle. Something to wait for to die. I walked away from the door. My legs were shaking. I went into my room and locked the door. I sat on the bed and opened the nightstand drawer. The bank statements weren't there. I always kept them in a brown folder in the back of the drawer under my scarves. They were gone. She had checked them. She had read them. She knew exactly how much money I had. And she wanted it. The following days were strange. Marcus started acting differently with me. He came home early from work and asked, "How was your day?" "Mom?" He helped me set the table. He asked me if I needed anything from the supermarket. He was following Vanessa's plan, making me feel important, so I wouldn't change my will. And I acted as if nothing had happened. "Thanks, son. That's so sweet of you." I smiled. I cooked. I talked about my day. But inside, I wasn't the same. One afternoon, while they were out, I did something I had never done. I checked their room. I opened drawers. I looked through their things. I looked for proof of what I already knew in my heart. In Vanessa's closet, I found new clothes. Tags still attached. Expensive shoes. Designer bags. All bought with money they didn't have. In the nightstand drawer, I found a notebook. I opened it. It was like a diary, but not of feelings. It was a plan. On the first page, it said, "Operation Own Home." I felt the floor moving beneath my feet. I turned the pages with trembling hands. Everything was there. Dates, strategies, objectives. March. Move in with Dot. Make her feel needed. April. Start using her things. Establish territory. May. Get info on her bank accounts. June. Make Marcus emotionally indispensable to her. July. Suggest Marcus ask her for a loan to invest in our future. And on the last page, written in red ink, final goal. Get the house put in Marcus's name before Dot turns 60. Old folks are harder to legally convince. If the easy way doesn't work, consider Plan B. Plan B. There were no more details, but I didn't need any more. I closed the notebook with trembling hands and put it back exactly where it was. I left the room. I went down to the kitchen. I poured myself a glass of water. My hands were shaking so much that I spilled the water. I heard the front door open. "We're home, Mom," Marcus yelled. I took a deep breath. I dried my hands on my apron. "I'm in the kitchen." They came in with grocery bags. "We brought you your favorite bread," Marcus said, smiling. "The cornbread you like. That's sweet, son." "Thank you." Vanessa looked at me. Her dark eyes studied me for a second as if she knew. "Are you okay?" "Dot, you look pale." "I'm fine. Just a little tired." "You should rest more," she said. And there was something in her tone. "At your age, you have to take care of yourself." "At your age," I smiled. "You're right." That night after dinner, after they went to sleep, I stayed seated in the kitchen alone with a cup of chamomile tea that had gone cold. And I made a decision. I wasn't going to run away. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to beg them to treat me well. I was going to act, but with intelligence. Because if my 30 years as an accountant had taught me anything, it was that numbers don't lie. And I was very good with numbers. I was also good at documenting things, saving evidence, building cases. If Vanessa had a plan, I would have a better one. I went up to my room. I took out my phone and started taking pictures of the missing bank statements, of the electric bills that had tripled, of the notebook I found, page by page. Then I saved everything to the cloud in a folder I called Cooking Recipes. No one would suspect. The following days I kept acting normal. But every time I left the house, I stopped by the bank. I spoke with my account executive. "Mrs. Hayes, is everything all right?" she asked when she saw my face. "I need to change some things in my accounts," I said. "And I want information on how to protect my assets." She looked at me with understanding. It wasn't the first time she had seen a case like this. "Let me give you the contact for a trusted notary," she said in a low voice. "She specializes in asset protection for senior adults." Senior adults. I was 58 years old. But to the world, I was already an old person who needed protection. I took the contact information. 3 days later, I had an appointment with the notary. Her name was attorney Laura Wilson, a woman in her 40s with a serious but kind look. I told her everything. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she sighed. "Mrs. Hayes, unfortunately, your case is not unique. I see this every week. Children who see their parents as bank accounts. Daughters-in-law who plan to take everything. What can I do? Legally? A lot. You can protect your assets. You can create a bulletproof will. You can even..." She paused. "Even what?" "You can document the economic and emotional abuse. If you have proof, you can initiate a legal process. Evict them. Report them if they have taken things without your permission. Evict them. My own son. I don't know if I can do that." "I understand," the attorney said with empathy. But think about this. What do you think they'll do when you are no longer useful to them? Do you think they'll take care of you? Or do you think they'll wait for you to be gone? I knew the answer. Take your time to think about it. But in the meantime, protect what you can. Your savings. Your house. Your dignity. I left that office with a knot in my stomach, but also with clarity. I was no longer the Dorothy who cleaned and kept silent. I was the Dorothy who documented and planned. And when the day came that I woke up and the house was empty, when I saw that they had sold my things, when Marcus told me on the phone, she deserves Paris. Mom. I was no longer surprised because I was expecting it. And I already had my answer prepared. An answer that would teach them that justice does not always come from the courts. Sometimes it comes from patience, from intelligence, and from 2 weeks of perfect preparation. Have you ever discovered something that completely changed how you viewed someone? Have you ever found proof that they were lying to you? Tell me in the comments. Sometimes the truth hurts, but it also frees you. The day I woke up and the house was empty was a Tuesday. A common Tuesday. One of those that seemed just like all the others. I got up at 6, 0 inches the morning as always. Opened my eyes, and the first thing I saw was the ceiling of my room. The same cracks I had seen for years. The same damp spot in the corner that Arthur always promised to fix. I got up, put on my slippers, and went downstairs. But something was different. The silence was distinct. It wasn't the silence of a sleeping house. It was the silence of a dead house. I reached the bottom of the stairs, and the living room was empty. Completely empty. At first, I thought I was dreaming. I closed my eyes, opened them again. Nothing. The green velvet sofa I bought 15 years ago. Gone. The coffee table where Arthur and I used to have coffee on Sunday mornings. Gone. The floor lamp I inherited from my mother. Gone. Even the curtains. Even the damned curtains they had taken. I walked barefoot toward the dining room. My feet felt heavy, as if I were walking at the bottom of a lake. The dining room wasn't there either. The oak table where we celebrated Marcus's first birthday. The 8 perfectly matching chairs. The antique china cabinet that cost me 6 months of savings. Everything. They had taken everything. I went to the kitchen almost running. The stove was still there. The refrigerator, too. But the hanging copper pots that Arthur brought me from Savannah, gone. The set of ceramic plates we used for parties, gone. Even the blender my sister gave me when I got married. Even that. I opened the pantry with trembling hands. The spice jars, the ones I had organized alphabetically, were gone. The coffee mugs I collected from every city I visited were gone. I opened the refrigerator. Empty. They had even taken the food. The ham. The cheese. The fruit. The yogurt. Even the milk. As if nothing had ever existed. I leaned against the kitchen wall and tried to breathe. But I couldn't. It was as if someone had punched me in the chest. As if the air had become solid. I ran up to my bedroom. My bed was there. My clothes, too. The closet had my things. But when I opened the nightstand drawer, my watch, the gold watch Arthur gave me for our 20th anniversary, was gone. I opened the closet, the shoebox where I kept emergency cash. $2,000 I had there for months was gone. I went to the guest room, the one they used. Empty. Not a single suitcase. Not a piece of clothing. Not a sign that they had ever lived there. Like ghosts. I returned to the empty living room. I stood in the center. The morning sun came in through the curtainless windows. The light was so bright it hurt. And there, in the middle of that empty space, I found a note. A simple white note on the wooden floor. I picked it up with trembling hands. I recognized Marcus's handwriting immediately. Mom, we urgently needed money. Vanessa and I went to Paris for a few days. She always dreamed of going, and I wanted to give her that. We sold some things to be able to afford the trip. Don't worry. They weren't important thing. Just old furniture. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Love you. Marcus. I read that note.